Let's get right into it. Number 12. Knock on wood. You know this one. You say something optimistic out loud. Wow, I haven't been sick all year. And immediately your soul leaves your body for half a second. Your hand flies toward the nearest wooden surface like it's being magnetically dragged there. Desk, door frame, someone else's headboard. Doesn't matter. You knock. Crisis averted. Reality stabilized. This superstition feels like pure nonsense, but historically, it wasn't just about appeasing imaginary forest spirits. It accidentally trained people to pause, to hesitate, to not tempt fate by sprinting full speed into confidence. And that pause saved lives. Back when daily life involved fire, livestock, unstable tools, and zero warning labels, overconfidence was a health hazard. Saying nothing bad will happen and immediately slowing down. Touching wood, stopping your motion, redirecting your attention, often meant you didn't do the stupid thing you were about to do. You didn't rush the climb. You didn't swing the axe carelessly. You didn't ignore the weird noise the cart was making. Psychologically, this is your brain forcing a micro-interruption. Pattern break. Modern neuroscience loves these. Interruptions reset risk assessment. They pull you out of autopilot. Knocking on wood is basically an ancient wait, double-check that button wrapped in folklore. There's also the social side. If you knocked on wood after bragging, you signaled humility. You weren't daring the universe. You were admitting, yeah, I might be wrong. Humble people survive longer. That's not a vibe-based statement, that's statistics wearing a robe. So no, the wood isn't magic. Your brain is. The superstition just tricked you into being cautious without you realizing it. Basically, your ancestors invented a physical captcha to prove you weren't tempting death on purpose. Number 11. Don't walk under ladders. Walking under a ladder feels wrong in a way that's almost spiritual. Like the universe itself is whispering, hey, don't. And sure, people say it's because ladders make triangles are spooky, and somehow this upsets reality. But here's the boring truth that accidentally kept people alive. Ladders are extremely dangerous. Historically, ladders meant construction, repairs, falling tools, loose bricks, and someone above you with terrible grip strength. Walking under one wasn't unlucky. It was a direct invitation for gravity to ruin your day. Avoiding ladders meant avoiding head trauma, crushed fingers, and impromptu funerals. But instead of explaining physics to everyone because nobody listens, the rule became mystical. Bad luck. Short, scary, effective. Your brain doesn't debate bad luck. It just obeys. You see a ladder, your feet rear out automatically, like you've been trained by generations of anxious grandparents. There's also a geometry problem here. When you walk under a ladder, your visual field narrows. You're not watching your step. You're not scanning for hazards. You're literally placing yourself in a blind zone while moving through a worksite. The superstition trained people to stay in open, visible paths where danger was easier to detect. Even today, on modern sidewalks, ladders still mean falling objects. Paint cans, tools, bolts, someone's phone. Avoiding that area is still the correct decision, even if your brain is pretending it's about curses instead of common sense. So congratulations. Every time you awkwardly detour around a ladder, you're not being irrational. You're honoring a centuries-old safety protocol disguised as magical paranoia. Your skull thanks you. Gravity is mildly disappointed. Number 10. Salt over the shoulder. Picture this, you spill salt at dinner. Immediately, someone gasps like you've just summoned a medieval plague. Without hesitation, you grab a pinch and fling it over your left shoulder like you're seasoning a ghost. Ridiculous? Absolutely. Accidentally useful? Also yes, salt used to be expensive. Like, this is part of your wages expensive. Spilling it wasn't just messy, it was wasteful. And wastefulness, historically, was a shortcut to starvation. Turning salt spilling into a dramatic, ritualized moment made people hyper-aware of handling it carefully. You didn't casually toss around something that could preserve meat through winter. But the shoulder throw part? That's the fun psychological twist. Rituals restore a sense of control. When something small goes wrong, Like spilling salt, your brain hates that tiny disruption. It screams, "Fix it!" Throwing salt over your shoulder gives you a symbolic reset. Anxiety down, focus restored. And a focused person is less likely to spiral into distraction. Think about it. You spill salt, panic slightly, perform the ritual, and then you're suddenly very aware of your surroundings. Your motor control sharpens. You sit up straighter. You pay attention. In older times, where dinner tables had knives, open flames, and heavy ceramic dishes, that regained attention mattered. Plus, the left shoulder thing? That side has long been culturally associated with lurking danger. So the ritual subtly trained people to check behind themselves. A casual backward glance in a pre-electric light world wasn't silly. It was smart. So yes, you're technically throwing seasoning at invisible demons. But you're also performing a tiny neurological reset that helps you regain composure. It's less about devils and more about damage control. Basically, your ancestors invented edible therapy. Number 9. Carrying a lucky charm. There's always that one person with a coin in their pocket that's lucky. Or a necklace. Or a smooth rock they found once and now refuse to live without. It sounds adorable. It also quietly improves survival. Here's why. When you believe you have a lucky object, your stress levels drop. And lower stress means better decision-making. That's not mystical. That's cortisol management. Stress narrows attention and increases impulsivity. Calm widens perspective. Calm people make fewer catastrophic mistakes. Studies on placebo effects show that belief alone can measurably alter performance. Athletes perform better with lucky gear. Students test better with lucky pens. Your brain interprets the object as a stabilizer. It becomes an anchor in chaos. In dangerous environments, hunting, sailing, traveling, confidence wasn't just emotional fluff. It was operational stability. Hesitation gets you injured. Panic gets you dead. A lucky charm reduced panic. It also functioned as a tactile grounding tool. Fidgeting with a charm in moments of uncertainty keeps your hands busy and your nervous system regulated. Modern therapy calls this self-soothing behavior. Your ancestors called it, "This rock keeps wolves away." The charm didn't repel predators. But the calm hunter holding it probably aimed more steadily. The sailor gripping it probably tied knots more carefully. The traveler clutching it probably stayed composed instead of making frantic errors. So while skeptics laugh at lucky socks, the brain loves symbolic safety nets. It's not magic. It's psychology wrapped in folklore. In short, your lucky coin isn't bending reality. It's bending your anxiety. And honestly, that's way more useful. Number 8. Friday the 13th. Somewhere along the timeline, humanity collectively decided that one specific date on the calendar was cursed. Not Tuesday the 9th. Not April the 22nd. Friday, the 13th. A day so suspicious it makes people cancel flights, delay business deals, and suddenly remember that maybe today isn't the best day to try something experimental. And ironically, that hesitation probably saved lives. Historically, Fridays already had baggage. Public executions often happened on Fridays. The number 13 disrupted the perfect 12-based systems people loved. 12 months, 12 zodiac signs, 12 apostles. 13 was the awkward extra chair at the cosmic dinner table. Combine the two and you get a date people approach with caution. Now here's where it gets interesting. When people believe a day is unlucky, they behave differently. They take fewer risks. They double-check plans. They drive more carefully. Some even stay home. Traffic studies in certain countries have shown reduced road usage on Friday the 13th. Fewer cars means fewer collisions. Less crowd density means fewer accidents. Superstition quietly throttles chaos. It's like society collectively pressing the "let's not be reckless today" button. There's also the psychological priming effect. If you think something might go wrong, your vigilance increases. Heightened vigilance isn't always comfortable, but it does improve error detection. You notice the loose step, the weird sound in your engine, the suspicious weather shift. So yes, believing in a cursed date is logically flimsy. But behaviorally, it often results in caution. And caution is just fear wearing a safety helmet. Basically, Friday the 13th isn't unlucky. It's the one day a year your impulsivity gets audited. Number 7. Avoiding black cats at night. A black cat crosses your path at night, and suddenly your ancestors are screaming in your bloodstream. Turn around. Go home. This is a sign. Poor cat just wanted to exist. But in pre-electric, pre-streetlight environments, nighttime visibility was terrible. A black animal blending into darkness wasn't just eerie. It was a visual warning. If you could barely see a cat, you definitely couldn't see the ditch, the uneven cobblestone, or the snake 3 feet ahead. Associating dark, fast-moving shapes with danger trained people to slow down in low-light conditions. It encouraged caution in environments where tripping, falling, or walking into a hazard could be fatal. Night travel was risky. Reduced depth perception, lower peripheral awareness, higher predator activity. The superstition effectively nudged people to reassess their surroundings. Pause, scan, maybe choose a different route. There's also pattern recognition at play. Humans evolved to overdetect threats. Seeing a shadow and assuming danger is safer than assuming nothing. It's better to be wrong and embarrassed than wrong and eaten. So labeling certain visual cues as bad luck strengthened avoidance behavior. It wasn't about demon cats. It was about survival heuristics. If something startles you in the dark, don't ignore it. That's solid advice, even if folklore wrapped it in witchcraft. Today, we have streetlights and reflective paint. But your nervous system still reacts like you're navigating a medieval forest. The cat isn't cursed. Your night vision just sucks. Number 6. Breaking a mirror. 7 years of bad luck. That's the sentence. You shatter a mirror and suddenly you've apparently signed a multi-year contract with misery. But mirrors weren't always cheap wall decor from a home goods store. For most of history, they were rare, expensive, and fragile. Early mirrors were polished metal or carefully crafted glass backed with precious materials. Breaking one wasn't just clumsy, it was financially devastating. Turning that loss into a supernatural threat made people handle mirrors carefully. Very carefully. And here's where it accidentally saves lives. Broken mirrors create razor-sharp shards. Glass injuries can cause deep cuts, severe bleeding, and infections. In a pre-antibiotic world, even a small infected wound could escalate into something lethal. If a superstition made people freeze, step back, and treat broken glass like cursed debris instead of harmless trash, that's a win for survival. The 7 years part? That likely stems from ancient beliefs that the body renews itself every 7 years. If a mirror reflected your soul, breaking it damaged your essence until it regenerated. Dramatic, but psychologically effective. Fear extends caution. You don't casually sweep shards with your bare hands if you believe you've just offended the universe. You move slowly. You protect yourself. You might even ask for help. All behaviors that reduce injury. There's also the reflective symbolism. Mirrors represent self-awareness. When one breaks, it's visually jarring. Your brain interprets shattered reflections as instability. That emotional spike forces attention. So while the curse is fictional, the danger is real. Broken glass doesn't need mystical backing to ruin your day. The superstition just amplified the warning label. In short, the mirror didn't doom your future. It just reminded you that gravity plus glass equals stitches. Number 5. Don't open an umbrella indoors. Opening an umbrella inside feels like you just offended architecture. Even if nothing happens, everyone in the room reacts like you've triggered a glitch in reality. Historically, early umbrellas weren't the compact, polite devices we have now. They were large, spring-loaded contraptions with rigid spokes and sharp tips. Opening one in a confined indoor space was basically deploying a mechanical spider. You could poke someone's eye, knock over a candle, or smash fragile objects. In tight quarters lit by open flame, sudden movements mattered. Startling someone near a candle could lead to fire. Tipping something flammable could escalate quickly. Associating indoor umbrella deployment with bad luck trained people to avoid unnecessary chaos in enclosed environments. There's also a psychological layer. Umbrellas are associated with storms, protection from external threat. Opening one inside symbolically invites outside instability inward. Humans are extremely sensitive to boundary violations. Inside is safe. Outside is unpredictable. Mixing the two creates discomfort. That discomfort reinforces restraint. Plus, spatial awareness matters. Indoor environments are obstacle-dense. You need clear motor control. Unfolding a wide object overhead disrupts that control. The superstition functions as a behavioral shortcut. Don't expand large mechanisms in tight spaces. It's less about angering fate and more about not spearing your cousin during dinner. So yes, it sounds silly. But if your ancestors made indoor umbrella use socially unacceptable, they reduced accidental injuries in fragile, fire-prone homes. Basically, bad luck was just a dramatic way of saying, watch your elbows. Number 4. Saying bless you after a sneeze. Someone sneezes and before they can even inhale again, 3 people shout, bless you, like they're warding off airborne demons, which, historically, is exactly what they thought they were doing. Sneezing used to be terrifying. In eras when plague, influenza, and mysterious respiratory illnesses wiped out entire villages, a sneeze wasn't allergies. It was potentially the opening scene of a tragedy. Saying bless you became a reflexive ritual of protection. Now here's where it accidentally helps. The ritual draws immediate attention to the sneeze. Social focus snaps toward the person. That awareness matters. In tight communities, noticing early symptoms meant isolating faster. If someone started sneezing repeatedly, people didn't ignore it. They tracked it. You also get a brief pause in conversation, a reset. That micropause often leads to the sneezer covering their mouth, regaining composure or stepping away. Over time, social rituals around sneezing reinforced hygienic norms. Covering your face, excusing yourself, washing hands. The phrase itself may not repel disease, but the attention shift does. There's also a biological quirk. Sneezing temporarily disrupts breathing patterns and can cause momentary vulnerability. A startled nervous system resets afterward. Social acknowledgement stabilizes that moment. Humans are wired for group reassurance. A quick verbal response lowers social anxiety, which lowers stress. And lower stress improves immune response. Not dramatically, but measurably. So while you're not sealing anyone's soul back into their body, you are reinforcing health awareness cues. In communities where medical knowledge was limited, ritualized attention to symptoms was one of the only early warning systems available. Basically, bless you is just primitive public health wrapped in politeness. Number 3. Throwing rice at weddings. You've probably seen it in movies. Newly married couple walks out of a ceremony and immediately gets pelted with carbohydrates. It seems harmless, slightly annoying, mildly wasteful. But historically, rice symbolized fertility, prosperity, and abundance. Throwing it wasn't random, it was symbolic reinforcement of survival values. In agricultural societies, abundance meant food security. Food security meant fewer deaths. Here's the subtle part. Communal rituals strengthen social bonds. Strong social bonds increase survival rates. That's not poetic. It's epidemiological. Tight-knit communities share resources, provide care during illness, and protect one another. The act of gathering, celebrating, and publicly blessing a union reinforced cooperation. When 2 families merged, networks expanded. That expanded network increased resilience against famine, conflict, and disease. The rice itself also had a behavioral side effect. It encouraged outdoor ceremonies or exits into open air. Large gatherings outside reduce indoor crowding and, historically, reduced disease transmission in poorly ventilated spaces. Plus, think about the symbolism. Showering a couple with grain reinforces the importance of food storage and agricultural success. Societies that ritualize food value tend to waste less of it. So no, rice doesn't magically guarantee healthy children. But rituals around marriage strengthened alliances, food-sharing systems, and collective identity. And those things absolutely save lives. It looks like carbs. It's actually community infrastructure, and that, ironically, is much more powerful than luck. Number 2. Don't whistle at night. Some cultures treat nighttime whistling like you just sent a formal invitation to chaos. Spirits will come. Thieves will notice. Something will answer back. Sounds theatrical. But in low-light, low-security environments, making sharp, attention-grabbing noises after dark was objectively not a brilliant move. Night historically meant vulnerability, limited visibility, reduced defensive awareness, increased predator or criminal activity. Sound travels farther in cool night air, and high-pitched whistles are particularly directional. You're basically broadcasting, "Hi, I'm right here," discouraging nighttime whistling trained people, especially children, to stay acoustically subtle after dark. Quiet households are harder to locate. Quiet travelers are harder to track. Even wildlife responds differently to sharp human sounds. Drawing attention in the wrong place at the wrong time could escalate fast. There's also group coordination at play. In pre-modern settlements, specific sounds often signal danger. If random whistling became common, it could interfere with genuine warning signals. Turning casual whistling into a taboo preserved the clarity of nighttime communication. And psychologically, the fear element increases compliance. "Don't make noise or you'll attract spirits" works better than sound carries efficiently in cold air and may compromise your positional safety. Your brain doesn't debate ghosts. It just lowers the volume. So the superstition wrapped acoustic discipline in a horror story. But the underlying message was tactical. Reduce unnecessary signals when visibility is compromised. Basically, it's less about summoning demons and more about not advertising your location like a malfunctioning GPS beacon. Number 1. Trusting your bad feeling. This one doesn't even feel like a superstition anymore. Feels like wisdom. I just had a bad feeling. Something felt off. The vibes were wrong. For most of human history, that vague, wordless discomfort was treated like a warning from something beyond logic. Premonition. A whisper from fate. In reality, it's pattern recognition operating below conscious awareness. Your brain constantly scans for microsignals, body language shifts, tone inconsistencies, environmental irregularities. You don't consciously catalog them, but your nervous system does. When something deviates from expected patterns, it generates unease before your rational mind can explain why. Calling it bad luck or a sign gave people permission to act on that discomfort without needing evidence. And that permission matters. If someone seemed slightly off, or a path looked subtly unsafe, or a situation felt socially unstable, the superstition of omens validated withdrawal. You didn't need proof. You just needed the feeling. Modern psychology calls this thin slicing, rapid, subconscious inference making. It's surprisingly accurate, especially in familiar environments. Ignoring it in favor of forced rationalization can lead to danger. Your ancestors survived not because they had spreadsheets, but because they listened to subtle threat cues. Superstition provided a narrative wrapper for intuition. And sure, sometimes intuition is wrong. Anxiety can masquerade as insight, but broadly speaking, honoring that internal alarm system reduces risk exposure. So when you say, "I can't explain it, it just feels wrong," you're not being mystical. You're accessing millions of years of evolutionary threat detection. Basically, your bad feeling isn't a ghost. It's your brain speedrunning a safety audit before you consciously open the file. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.